2. All right, this is the fourth lesson of the trimester. And what I want to do here is start out with a quick warm-up for you guys to do. So if you want to pause the video at this particular time and try this warm-up, that would be perfectly fine. Okay? All right. So what we're going to be looking at right here when we're drawing this is we're going to be sketching a horizontal line. A horizontal line basically is a line that goes left to right, and it's a straight line. Okay? It's a straight line. It's a flat line. It's a flat line right here, horizontal line. Make sure you have the arrows at the end of it. And this horizontal line is going through the point -3, 5. So let's see here. This goes through the point -3, 5. So -1, -2, -3, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, horizontal line. Well, horizontal line has got to be a straight line. And it's got to be straight through right here. That point of -3, 5, which it is. Draw the arrows. And we sketch the line. Okay, we sketch the horizontal line. But then it says we want to write the equation for the line. So when we're writing the equation for this line right here, notice that this line here, this point right here, how many points does it take to be on a line? Okay, how many points does it take to be on a line? Well, you need a minimum of 2 points to determine a line. Okay, so -3 is definitely on this line. And now let's just pick another point that is perhaps on this line. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here and pick this point right here. Okay, and this point is the point 4, 5. Okay, now when we're writing an equation for this, all right, when we're writing an equation for this right here, you're going to notice a couple things. First, all right, first, the x values are different, but the y values are the same. So the x could be whatever. The x can range from whatever to whatever. But notice, every value on this line right here, every coordinate ordered pair has a y value of 5. So what does that mean? It means the equation of this line is going to be this, and it's going to have a y value of 5. And that's it. Okay? Now, the next slide right here is going to be in regards to finding the x and y-intercepts. Now, let me just refresh your memory right here on x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Okay? An x-intercept is a point on the x-axis. Okay? So that's the first thing you ought to know about an x and a y x-intercept. It's a point. Okay? And it's on the x-axis. Okay? Nothing super fancy. It's just a point on the x-axis, right? But any point on the x-axis is going to have an x value. It's going to have a value right here, right? It's going to have a value. And then what's the y value? Well, any point on the x-axis right here, if you think about it, just pick an arbitrary point on the x-axis right here, okay? Let's say I pick this point right here, 2, 0. That's on the x-axis. This point right here, 4, 0. It's on the x-axis. This point right here, -6, 0. It's on the x-axis. It's an x-intercept, okay? But all those points have a 0 for the y value. Any point on the x value has an x value, right? But the y value is always going to be 0. And if we're looking to find the x-intercept, we're looking to find that x value. The y value is just nothing, okay? Now on the flip side of that, we've got the y-intercept. Y-intercept, what's that? Well, it's no different than the x-intercept in many respects. It's just a point, and it's going to be a point on your y-axis. So you got your x-intercept, the point on your x-axis. You got a y-intercept, and that's going to be a point basically on your y-axis. So I'm going to put that down, and you're going to want to have that. You're going to want to know that. Okay, it's a point, and it's going to be on the y-axis. However, any point on your y-axis, right? Any point on your y-axis will have a y value. Could have a y value of 10, could have a y value of -6, could have a y value of 7. We don't know what the y value is, right? That's what we're trying to find. But if we have a point on the y-axis, right? Every point on the y-axis right here has an x value of 0. Say this point right here. This point right here is 0, 2, ordered pair. This point right here is 0, 8, right? The y value is the x value is always going to be 0 with the y-intercept. So now here's the deal with this. How do we do this? And how do we graph it? So we need 2 points in order to come up with the line right here. Now what I would do is I would find the x-intercept for this. Excuse me, I'm going to use my proper colors here. All right. I'm going to find my x-intercept right here, and I'm going to find my y-intercept. Those are 2 logical points that I would use, that I would find. Now, when you're finding the x-intercept, you're finding an x value. You're finding an x value with your x-intercept. Okay? So you don't need to worry about your y. So when you're doing this, when you're finding the x-intercept, all you're doing is you're finding the x value. Okay? You got 3x, right? And then what's y? Well, if it's an x-intercept, your y is you're just going to substitute in. You're just going to substitute in 0. And now you have an equation. It's a super easy equation to solve. It's no problem. Right here, you have 3x minus 0, which is 3x. Right here, notice we're keeping everything right underneath. Right here, our equation. And all we're doing is we're just going to solve it. Okay, no different than last trimester. We're solving the equation, keeping everything neat and orderly here. Okay. And what we've got right now when we solve it, is the following. We divide both sides by 3. Dividing everything by 3 right here, we get x equals 4. X equals 4, yep. X equals 4 right here is your x value. But when you're listing out and you're labeling out an x-intercept, right, you write it as an ordered pair. What do you mean ordered pair? I mean, every point has to be listed as an ordered pair. I don't want points written not as ordered pairs. Okay? An x-intercept is 4, but it's an ordered pair right here, right? The y value is going to be 0. So I'm going to take that point right here. I'm going to mark it on the x-axis because it's an x-intercept, and here it is. And then we're going to go to our y. We're going to go to our y-intercept. And we've got a y-intercept right here. And with our y-intercept, we're going through, we're looking at this. And with this value, with our y-intercept, okay, it's a point on the y-axis, but our x value is 0. Okay? So we're not concerned about our x value right here. X value is 0 when we're looking at a y-intercept. So now we have this equation right here. Okay? We're going through, we're keeping things nice and even here. 3 times 0 is 0. This is a negative y, and I'm going to put it as a negative 1y. Okay? And now all we got to do is just divide and get our y value alone by itself. And here's where we're at. We're at y equals negative 12. And here's what we have. We have 0 for our x, and then a negative 12. Okay? Now, I'm not too happy that this goes off our graph a little bit. Right here. I'm not too happy about this problem. Okay? But a negative 12 basically would be something that would be down here. Here's what would maybe be a negative 11. And here's our negative 12. Okay? So here's our y-intercept right here. Now all we're going to do is we're just going to take this, take our 2 intercepts, and we're just going to draw our line right here as straight as we can, straight through them. Okay? Draw our arrows, and we're done. Okay? So we're just finding our x-intercept and our y-intercept. Okay? Now, our next problem here, or our second example, we've got something that's a little bit different. We've got our equation right here, right? Our equation, but we need to determine the x and y intercepts and graph. X and y intercepts, yeah, x and y intercepts. So I'm going to put those down nicely as is. Our x-intercept, okay, our y-intercept, right, our y-intercept, and now we're going to find them. So now for our x-intercept, reminder here, we're trying to find an x value, so our y value is 0, because it's on the x-axis, and now we have an equation. I'm going to put a negative 1 in front of that x value there, because that's really what the number is there. And then all I've got to do is I've just got to solve. Okay? We're going to take our time when we're doing this. We're going to do this nicely and neatly. Put it right underneath our equation right here. Okay? Don't get sloppy with this. Okay? Don't get sloppy with it, because if you get sloppy with it, you're going to make a mistake. So get rid of those 4's. 0 minus 4. Subtract them out. Use a calculator if needed. I don't care. Go through, put the equal sign. You have a negative 1x. And now all you got to do is you just got to divide by the negative 1. Okay? So we got our values here. We got our value right here of x equals 4. X equals 4. Yep. X equals 4. Right here. But we got to write this as an ordered pair. So you've already got your x value. Just solve for that. And your y value, well, what did you substitute in for y to actually get x? You substituted in a 0, right? And that makes sense because it's an x-intercept, right? The next guy right here is the y-intercept. Now with the y-intercept, very simple. Very simple. You're looking for a y value. But what are you substituting in for x, right, to find the y? You're substituting in a 0 because it's on the y-axis. And all you got to do right here. It's very simple. It's just, this is actually a -1 right here. A -1 times 0. Well, -1 times 0 is 0. So this is 0 plus 4. Equals y. Notice I'm keeping everything nice and right underneath the equation. And this is simple. It's easy. Not really much you have to do to solve it. It's already pretty much done for you. Y equals 4. But we're going to write it as a ordered pair because it is a point. And we're going to go through and we're going to look at it. And we're going to put it down. We're going to put it down on our graph right here. We're going to graph each of the points. 0, 4 first right here, the y-intercept. That's 0, 4. It's on the y-axis right here. Here's the y, right? Here's the x, right here. And all we need to do is just put that down. All we got to do is graph the points. Graph the points and draw a line through them. Okay, no problem. Easy peasy. We've got 0, 4. We've got the point 4, comma 0. 4, comma 0 is on the x-axis. There she be right there. And now all we got to do is draw that line through it. Nothing super fancy here. Okay. There we go. There's our line. And there you have it. Okay. Now the last one of these, finding x and y intercepts, you have it in even a slightly different form of an equation, right? But it's still the same process. You're still finding the x-intercepts and the y-intercept and graphing it. So, okay, fine. We're going to find the x-intercept. We're going to find the y-intercept. Okay? The x-intercept and the y-intercept. And I'm going to put them there. I'm going to put them down right here. Okay? And I've got them down, and now all we need to do is solve for them. Okay? So now with the x-intercept, I'm finding an x value. Now that's this. I'm substituting in a 0 in for y. I'm finding an x value here. Go through and let's do that. Keeping, again, everything neat in our equation here that we're going to solve. Excuse me. And we're going to distribute through first. Okay? We distribute through. We got 3x minus 3 plus 9. And this is equal to 0. So let's go through and let's combine a little bit of like terms here. This is a -3 and a +9. So -3 and +9 add to give you 6. Continuing on with this solving of this equation right here, all we got to do is get rid of that 6 right there. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Again, keeping everything nice and orderly underneath the equation here. Okay. We subtract our 6. We get 3x. Keep our equal sign. And then the last thing we just got to do is divide by 3. Okay? And when we do that, when we get that, we get x equals -2. But that's not our point. That's our x value, but it's not our point. Our point is -2, comma 0. Now, with our y-intercept, with our y value, all we got to do is solve for y, right? It's on our y-axis. So if it's on our y-axis and we're trying to solve for y, we substitute a 0 in for x. Now this is nothing more than an order of operations. So let's go through and do that order of operations, taking our time. I'm going to do our order of operations 0 minus 1 in here first. This is 3, and this is times negative 1. And we're going to add 9. 3 times negative 1 is a negative 3, so we have a negative 3 plus 9, and we get a y equals 6. Graph that 6 right here, write that 6 down. Order pair is 0, 6. I'm going to put that on the y-axis. I'm going to put the other one, the x-intercept, on the x-axis. And all we need to do is draw a line through those 2 points. Okay? Nothing fancy here, just drawing a line right here, straight as we can through those points. And you're done. Now our last problem here is a word problem. So big deal. Petunia's buying plants for her garden, and she has lilacs, bushes, and she has for $15, and she has lady slippers. Now this might be a little bit confusing here, but what we're talking about is we're talking about lilacs and lady slippers. Just like yesterday, we're finding the x and y intercept. It's super quick. Okay, we're trying to find lilacs. So how many lilac bushes can you get for $75? Well, there's 15 lilac. They cost 15 each. And if you solve this, you end up getting the equation right here for it. Here's 5, and so 5 lilac. Similarly, if you want to find the y-intercept, you're looking for a y value. Okay, and this one, we're talking about lady slippers, so they cost $5 each. 5y equals 75. Okay, and if you solve for this, you get y equals 215. And that's 15 lady slippers. Okay, and that's it. All right, so that should do it for today's lesson. Please, please, please take a look at your assignment for tonight. And if you have any questions, as always, please ask.